It's all about Gorton and Denton. Let's get a Tory perspective now. We'll cross to Millbank. Matt VIckers, Tory Party Deputy Chairman. Good morning, Matty.
Good morning, Jezza. How's it going?
I can't even see you for the microphone. You're looking very important this morning. The little scarves on the desk, they're all good stuff. Matty,
Sure.
I'd love your response. People are waking up, they're throwing their hands in the air. The truth of the matter is, historic victory for the Greens. Democracy is democracy. Well done, Hannah Spencer. Labour hammered in their own heartland. Hammered. A seat they've held for 100 years. Their vote halved. The Tory vote, factually, completely non-existent. 2%. Lost your deposit. How do you respond to that, Matt VIckers?
So I'll bring you on to our vote first. I think, do you know what happens in by-elections across the country? People rally behind whoever has the best possible chance on that day. If you look at the Labour Party, in July 24, they won a stonking majority in Parliament. A couple of years before, in Cheshire and Amersham, in that by-election, their vote share fell from 13% to 1.6%. We were fifth there at the last general election. It was never our fight. That said, we had a great candidate who did her thing, and I don't think it's any...
We had Charlotte on earlier.
We
had Charlotte on earlier.
She's actually an incredible woman who has a lot to contribute and would be a fantastic MP. But I think that is... Most people at home know exactly where it's at. This wasn't our fight. This is representative of what happens in by-elections, very different from the national picture. But the reality is there was three people who had a lot at stake yesterday. We had the Labour Party. This has been a safe Labour seat for decades.
100 years.
A Labour MP said,
Yep.
a Labour MP said that to lose this to the Greens would be existential for the Labour Party. And we know why the Labour Party are hemorrhaging votes, because of the damage that they're doing to this country, to our economy, to all those young people now. Record levels of unemployment amongst graduates, struggle to get a job, struggling to get... because people are being put out of work. Our economy is being destroyed by Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer. They've broken promises to waspy women, to pensioners, to farmers. Well, any promise that was made seems to have been broke. U-turn after U-turn. A disastrous government. It's time for Starmer to go. But then there was other stakeholders in this. You've got Reform, who claimed they could win. Who've gone in there, threw the kitchen sink at it, and it hasn't come their way. You know, the crest of the wave that Reform were on, people were anticipating the win, and they thought they could win this. It hasn't happened. Instead, we've got a Green MP. And Greens, people like to think that these fluffy people who go around hugging trees, actually, they're quite dangerous people. These are people who think we should be legalising all drugs. They think we should be legalising sex work, that we should have brothels on every high street. They want to say goodbye to our nuclear deterrent. They're quite scary people with quite scary views.
Can I jump in, though, on that?
More of them in Parliament is dangerous.
Can I jump in on that? Because there's so much I want to say. I completely agree with you about the Labour Party, and none of which I say is biased in any way. Farage will say... and it's a point. You've both, Tory voices this morning have both said to me the kitchen sink was thrown in. Farage will say that Matt Goodwin, with 29% of the local vote, got exactly locally that he got nationally. The bigger picture here, and the criticism that Farage has highlighted, some have said sour grapes this morning. Love the Tory party's view on this. Sectarian voting. A non-biased organisation has talked about family voting. They believe, this is being investigated, that 12% of the people in Gorton and Denton were led by senior family members into the booth and told how to vote. Whatever your politics, that has to be investigated. But on the bigger picture is sectarian voting. Explain this to me. You're an MP. How does a party that you describe as fluffy and tree-hugging, that, by the way, mentioned sod all about the environment in this campaign, half of the constituents they talked in Urdu to, right, and the other constituents they talked about working values. But how do they ally their view on transgender with their support from the Muslim community? Because I'm not sure about you, Matt, because I don't see how that works.
You're entirely right. They're fighting an election based on issues happening elsewhere in the world, not on the issues that are affecting those people in Gorton and Denton. They're putting out these videos in foreign languages, absolutely nuts. But then when it comes down to the allegations, actually any allegation like that should be investigated by the police. When we were last in office, we brought forward a load of legislation about postal votes, in fact, about family voting. These allegations have been made. The council's come back and said, nobody said anything about it at the time, Gov. Once the boxes got open and the votes started getting counting, it was raised. This thing needs investigating properly. The answers need to be had. At the same time, this is an organisation that people won't be familiar with, saying something after boxes is open, and the suggestion it wasn't said whilst it was going on. Anybody who suspects something like that happening in a polling station should be raising it with the people running that polling station and with the police immediately. It's now for the Electoral Commission and the police to look at this and make sure one way or the other it's cleared up.
Let's go back to it. Democracy is democracy, and Hannah Spencer won a majority. I think, to be fair, it struck me that the tree huggers did a campaign very much like the Liberal Democrats, lacking in any real substance, but managing to garner enough votes by grabbing hold of the things that matter. I do think sectarian voting is going to become, sadly, probably quite central in British politics and needs to be dealt with. But let's talk about reform. This is interesting. Andy in Cornwall. The by-election is actually a great result for Reform, as it will focus attention on sorting out a deal with other right-leaning parties. The tactical voting will work against them, as citizens who would never consider it will do so. Advance UK, they had a candidate called Nick Buckley who defected from Reform, has an MBE and has a great presence in the community. At 154 votes, Advance got less than the monster raving loony party. Surely the one thing that's come out of this from Reform's point of view, he's not going to like this, they are now the official opposition to the Labour government, aren't they, Matt Vickers? Come on.
Well, they just aren't. To be quite interesting, it was Mr. Oink Oink, wasn't it, from the...
No, don't be rude. Sir Oinkalot.
He was...
With his piggy
Sir
nose.
Oinkalot.
Yeah.
He might have been a very effective candidate. He might have actually been, listening to what the people of Gorton and Denton want rather than talking about the politics of elsewhere in the world. I don't think that's right at all, Jez. A reform of the official opposition. Well, they clearly aren't.
Well, they got 29% of the vote. You've got 2%.
They reckon they could win. As we've said, the by-elections, people rally behind the people who they think they can win in that particular seat. As we've said, Chesham and Amersham, a few years before Labour got a whopping majority in Parliament, they got their backsides handed to them on a much greater scale than we did here. They fell from 13% of the vote to less than 2%. That's what happens in a by-election. People at home know it. They've seen by-election after by-election. This wasn't a great night for Reform. They reckoned they could win it. It hasn't happened. The Greens have gone in there.
Who's had the worst night? Who's had the worst night in the Tory party's view? Nigel Farage or Keir Starmer?
I think Keir Starmer's had the worst possible night. This is evidence that this cannot carry on any longer. This is Labour heartlands. This is a seat they've held, you said it, nearly a century, dominated that seat. They've gone in there and been absolutely battered. And they've been battered because the people who voted for them last time down have been utterly let down by them. They are destroying the lives of people across this country who are being put out of work. They're suffering as a result of decisions made by Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer.
You're a great man. We'll see you Monday morning, bright and breezy, for the paper review. Matt Vickers, Deputy Chairman of the Tory Party. This just